Bob Littlefield is a fighter.
Yeah, when you see the pictures of Vietnam and you see the helicopters and you'll see a little guy hanging out the side of the helicopter with a machine gun shooting at people, that was me. The good old days. No, not really. Just kidding, yeah.
At 77, Littlefield is still getting into fights, but not with machine guns. Now it's all about politics.
To know me is not necessarily to love me, apparently.
The latest brawl is with a company that wants to expand its headquarters in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where Littlefield's lived since the 80s.
When they went before the planning commission, they basically said, we need 1,895 apartments, which is BS.
It was actually more than 1,900 apartments at this point, plus a previously greenlit 400,000 square foot office building, plus restaurants, retail, and a hotel. The Scottsdale Planning Commission approved it.
But those guys, they'd approve a nuclear waste dump. This thing is so awful, so terrible, that we have to fight.
This company isn't just any company. It's called Axon, and it's one of the biggest names in police tech. They make tasers, body cameras, drones, and AI software. But that is not Littlefield's problem.
Most Scottsdale residents, most Scottsdale voters do not want more apartments. It's too big, too tall, too dense.
That is Littlefield's problem, the apartments. He and his allies polled Scottsdale residents.
And unsurprisingly, this thing was ridiculously unpopular. 70% of the voters we polled were against it. 10% were for, and the other 20% didn't know what day it was.
Now, I can already hear you scoffing. What about affordability? NIMBYism? Well, we'll get to that. But this apartment fight has another story to tell, one about local control and democracy. Littlefield's fight has gone all the way up to the highest levels of Arizona government, from the city council to the state legislature. The governor got involved, and then the former Solicitor General of Arizona.
It becomes my business when they want to say to Scottsdale, hey, you don't get to decide your own future. That's wrong.
So who will get to decide the future? That's today on Things That Go Boom. I'm Lacey Healy.
One of the best parts for me about hosting Reveal, your favorite weekly investigative podcast, is the interviews. I love to sit down with people and try to gain a perspective that gives me and our listeners a new way of seeing the world, which is why we're launching More to the Story with me, Al Letson. It's a place where I can talk to some of the most intriguing people to bring some context to our changing world. Follow the Reveal podcast feed and look for More to the Story every Wednesday.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
It's hard to tell the Axon story without talking about this company's tremendous growth. It really is staggering in the last decade. This is a company that used to be known for only one thing, and that is the Taser.
That's journalist Annie Gilbertson. She's done a lot of reporting on tech and on local police, and she reported this story for Things That Go Boom.
You've heard of tasers. They're on the belts of cops all over the country.
They're carried by some 400,000 American patrol officers, which is obviously great news for the company that makes them, Axon.
Axon, the company that develops technology products for military and law enforcement.
Stock just closed a record. It's more than doubled over the past year. This is the maker of tasers. They also make body cams.
It is a hugely successful product. But the company has evolved since that device and has really evolved American policing along with it.
How so?
Well, it calls itself a tech company. And this whole corporate campus idea, it's not unlike Googleplex or Apple Park, though it seems like this apartment plan is pretty unique. And it has had stratospheric growth. I mean, the shares have soared 10 times what they were at the start of the pandemic, which you may remember coincided with a lot of calls for police reform. And the company was really able to seize on that moment. Today, its market cap makes it one of the most highly valued companies on the planet.
Wow. So they must be selling a lot of police tech.
Yeah, and not just to police. They supply U.S. Customs and Border Protection and ICE. They're also marketing to military police. And the company is expanding into military combat. They're envisioning tech like AI-powered drones that seek out and destroy an opponent's equipment. Axon leaders, they say they really believe that they are charting the future of law enforcement. And some of that mirrors what we see happening in the military, overseas, and at our borders.
Okay, let's start with what's happening in Scottsdale.
Hey, arrived in Phoenix. It is extremely hot, 109. And I got a tank top on, ready to do some interviews. On the day I arrived, I met Littlefield at the Scottsdale airport. It serves small private planes and corporate jets. Definitely not what I flew. The airport was a former basic training facility for World War II pilots. The fact that it now serves rich people is kind of the Scottsdale stereotype in a nutshell. It's a wealthy suburb of Phoenix. Picture sprawling stucco subdivisions, luxury shopping, hotels, and a preserved adobe mission downtown. It all butts up against a gorgeous swath of open desert. Littlefield likes to show off the airport. He's a pilot, teaches people to fly. Except right now, it's so hot, the small planes cannot take off.
See now, for instance, tomorrow, high is going to be 112 degrees. So probably fly tomorrow till noon, but then you'd have to stop.
Littlefield is plenty busy anyway. He's been working for several months to block Axon's development.
I said we have to do something, and I called some people, and we got enough people with a little bit of influence together to form this pack. And that's how it happened. And they picked me to be the president just because I have a lot of visibility because of all the years I've been involved.
And that brings me to the other thing you need to know about Littlefield. He was on Scottsdale City Council until he termed out. Now his wife has his seat, and he's focused on his PAC.
TASE is my political action committee, and I didn't pick the name, okay? I mean, that's not...
What does it stand for?
Taxpayers Against Awful Apartment Zoning Exemptions. I didn't pick it. Our PR guy picked it.
Tase as in taser. Get it? Last year, the PAC started a signature gathering campaign. It needed signatures to put the Axon project on a local ballot, get a referendum. These are not uncommon in Arizona and have been used to block development projects before. It's expensive, and Tase's funders are a big secret. When I asked Littlefield about it, he demurred, looked at me sympathetically as if to say, "Sweetheart, don't you know that this is how politics works in America?" He quickly moved on.
We collected some money, and then we bought some signature gatherers, but we also used volunteers because people were enraged. We didn't have any trouble getting volunteers. People were outraged.
One of the volunteers was a woman named Susan Wood. Here's some clips of her YouTube channel called Protect Scottsdale, which critiques various developments like new parking garages.
I wanted very much to have a parking study. I'm finding most of the shops here do not want the parking garage built, and we want to keep the farmers market where it is.
Wood did not want the Axon apartments.
Are you tired of all the apartments in Scottsdale? That's the speech. And they go, yes. Where do I sign? It was like the easiest petition I ever did.
Libraries, grocery stores, the senior center, signature gatherers fanned out across the city.
There was a lot of drama going on because the Axon people hired people to disrupt us. So I'm walking up to the library. There's supposed to be someone here to sign petitions?
Yeah. We're asking people not to sign.
And these two scruffy-looking guys are standing out there trying to grab the people and tell them not to sign.
No, they all left.
Oh, why? Because I thought they told us to come here.
Because I'm too much.
Why?
I'm extra special.
They were trying to intimidate. That was the goal.
Wood and the volunteers did not give up. They got more than 26,000 signatures and a spot on the 2026 ballot. Once it goes to vote, Littlefield is confident that the referendum will kill Axon's apartments. To him, it is a fight against corporate greed. It also strikes me it's about who gets to decide what a city looks like.
Yes, very astute. You're right, that's exactly it. Who gets to decide? Does the development community get to decide? Or do the voters and citizens get to decide?
But before Littlefield could go do a victory loop in the sky, Axon hit back.
We don't care what you thought. We're just going to totally wipe out your opposition.
Axon's leadership has grown accustomed to success. And to understand why, you need to understand just how influential this company has become. It's helped local policing change dramatically in just my lifetime.
Yes, we're just rushing headlong into 1984. We're a brave new world.
That's Barry Friedman. He's the founder of the Policing Project at NYU, where he also teaches and writes about policing, technology, and the Constitution.
And I tell people all the time who worry about police use of force, you should worry about it, but in the future, you're going to see a lot less of it, because instead of police having to use force on the streets, everybody's going to be under surveillance.
This is the big change. Surveillance. Fewer cops on corners, way more cameras.
You need to understand that policing has changed over the last 3 decades. We've moved to a world in which we're collecting data on everyone, often all the time.
So in what ways might I or you be being surveilled by local police, like right now?
If you got in your car, then pretty soon you probably would pass a license plate reader. If you use social media, there's a good chance that some company is collecting all that social media and analyzing it that is available for purchase. So it's a lot of information out there about you.
Friedman is not against tech.
It doesn't have to be either or. That is just sloppy. It's just sloppy.
Friedman is interested in how and when tech gets deployed. Who is it being designed for? What problem is it solving? Is it effective? What are the guardrails? Which is why, several years ago, he joined an AI ethics board at Axon.
So our idea was, if we engage with some of these technology companies, which we have, and I think successfully, can we in fact end up with more responsible product?
One Axon product that he saw changing policing was the body camera.
The federal government sunk lots of money into supporting local agencies get body cams as a transparency tool.
This was 2015, the year after a police officer shot and killed 18-year-old Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Amidst calls for reform, President Barack Obama's Justice Department awarded $23 million in funding for body cameras and an exploration of their impact. The press release said that the effort would, quote, help mend the fabric of trust. It's a promise that Friedman says hasn't been fully realized.
There hasn't been a lot of transparency around the use of body cameras. I was worried about them from the start, and I'm only more worried now.
Sometimes police don't release the footage to the public, or it's edited, or it's redacted, or cops don't turn the camera on at all. You can see how, without thoughtful public policy, the technology would fall short of the goal.
And that is one of the huge problems we have here, and why regulation is absolutely essential, which is that unless you have regulation, there will be a race to the bottom.
Meaning that the tech will codify some of policing's worst impulses, things like secrecy and self-protection. Friedman and the ethics board examined other Axon products as well, and the board convinced company leaders not to use facial recognition on body cameras. They also talked a lot about drones. Axon CEO Rick Smith thought that they could help stop school shooters.
And Rick had this idea that we just needed to put taser-armed drones in all the schools. And the board looked at the question, and we decided by a split vote that we were going to recommend against arming the drones.
Then, the Uvalde school shooting happened.
But he went public with it in violation of our rules.
It was 2022. Friedman and several other board members resigned. Axon then halted the plan. But what the company did do was go big on digital storage and software. It makes something called evidence.com, where officers can upload material gathered for a case. Cities have put cameras up on their street corners, parks, and schools, and the video is getting pumped into what's called a real-time crime center. Axon's got a package for that. It's another product that's also being marketed to the military. And the system can even connect to private cameras at stores or homes with the owner's permission. Axon leadership claims that the software is now connected to nearly 250,000 private cameras.
Okay, so you put a bunch of cameras everywhere. It would sure take a lot of people to watch those cameras. We've all seen these security desks where somebody's got, 12 feeds in front of them at one time, but not really being watched. But two things have happened. First, because of AI, Every camera can now be a surveillance camera. Every camera can be a license plate reader. Every camera can be a smart camera. And second, you don't have to watch the camera anymore. AI can watch it for you.
This is the future that Axon is building, and it's likely coming to your own backyard whether you like it or not. We'll get back to who gets to decide what to build in Scottsdale, but first, what does this surveillance state actually look like? After the break, we take a look at some of this tech in action.
How are we doing today?
Hey! Wow, the heat just hits you, doesn't it?
Right?
After arriving in Arizona, Annie headed over to the Peoria Police Department.
They had recently set up something called a real-time crime center, powered by Axon Tech. The community relations officer was gracious enough to let me take a peek.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They greeted me with a gift, a Peoria plastic cup and a police badge.
I have a 4-year-old who's going to be thrilled.
There you go.
Peoria is another suburb of Phoenix. The Arizona Department of Public Safety paid $2.6 million to equip and operate this real-time crime center, which opened earlier this year. What would you say your public safety challenges are?
People thinking that we're a bedroom community and we don't have crime.
This is Detective Julie Smith.
We actually are positioned next to 3 cities that have a ton of crime. And then they target our community because our community is very safe and trusting. They leave their doors unlocked. They leave their purses in the car.
Smith is at a standing desk. She's got a bunch of screens in front of her. It's running Axon's real-time crime center platform, Fusus. There's a live stream of an intersection, security camera footage from the hallways of City Hall, a dashboard of 911 calls coming in, and a map of the city. Picture icons of cameras lit up all across the map. Smith can pop open one of the cameras when she needs to.
I will watch this almost 90% of my day. It's waiting for a call to come up. Once it comes up, I can get the location and I can start accessing my camera systems to figure out if I'm able to give any information at all.
This is that big change that Axon is helping usher in. Smith says it's working. She's gotten calls for elderly people who have gone missing, and it took almost no time for their license plate to ping a plate reader.
We've been able to follow the vehicle until the officer gets to it. We're able to find them within 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
which is just like totally different than the world
Yeah.
prior, right? Like,
yes. It shows the benefit of what we have and how far behind we've been.
Real-time crime centers are all over. Albuquerque, Austin, Charlotte, Fresno, Newark, New Jersey, and New York City. And there are some guardrails. The U.S. Constitution, state laws. Peoria officers shared their rules about what video can be recorded, how long they keep footage, and also when they're allowed to access plate reader data. Their system doesn't have facial recognition. But it still made me wonder, who decides all of this? When did we all agree to just be watched all of the time? And to have all of that information always at the fingertips of the government? Again, Barry Friedman.
It's one thing, by the way, for the government to have to get some sort of legal order to get access to the data. It's another to just have it hanging around on the shelf all the time. Like, that just can't possibly be right.
do you think that our laws around privacy and search haven't really caught up with where we are technologically? It's like a big question, right?
It's like a big fat softball just coming over the plate. I mean, our laws aren't even, to extend my sports metaphor here, our laws aren't even in the ballpark of what's needed to deal with how technology is advanced.
Friedman believes that we shouldn't leave these important decisions to profit-driven companies and policing agencies, but instead to the public.
Okay, so I am coming up on Axon's headquarters. I've got the desert mountains up ahead. Gorgeous. Axon. Building is very dark gray. It's got a kind of futuristic vibe to it. And they've got some landscapers out here in the 110-degree heat, keeping the landscaping nice. And I wish I could go inside, but they declined, so I won't be going in today.
Axon declined to comment for this story. Elsewhere, though, Axon leadership has said that it needs these apartments to make the live-work campus viable. It plans to offer some units to its workers, and Phoenix right now has a housing shortage. The Salt River Valley has grown at an extraordinary pace. A third of the state's homes have been built since the year 2000. But while that growth happened, zoning and NIMBY politics are frequent obstacles to apartment buildings. And water is a big issue. The governor has sought to restrict growth in some cities because of potential water shortages down the road. Axon's founder and CEO, Rick Smith, wrote that if he was blocked from building the campus that they envisioned, he'd have to pick up and find a new hometown. Betty Janik did not want to see that happen.
I'm Betty Janik, and I was a member of City Council from 2021 to the beginning of 2025.
Janik is a retired chemist and public school teacher.
I have 3 kids, 9 grandchildren.
She left City Council after her term ended in January. Before that, Axon's CEO gave her his personal pitch for the project.
They said that they wanted a campus, and then they provided documentation that Microsoft, Google, all the big boys in this industry have campuses.
Janik knew the apartments would be an issue for some constituents, so she tried to negotiate.
Can't you do it in phases? Could you maybe do half? Could you maybe think about not doing quite as many? And all they gave me was they reduced it by 70 units, at which point I said, okay, I will support it.
She believed the company would attract young talent.
They were smart and idealistic, and we're working with our school system in robotics and math extracurricular activities. And for me, that was what pushed me over to say, I think Axon will be a great addition to our city.
The council gave Axon their blessing, but then in January, the membership of the council changed. Littlefield and his PAC got their signatures, and the fate of Axon's campus became uncertain. The referendum would be a gamble, a risk that Axon leadership does not want to take. So what does power do when it's backed up against the wall? It swings. The ring for this fight? The state capitol.
I'm Representative Alexander Colladin. I represent Arizona's 3rd legislative district in the statehouse.
And that's Scottsdale.
North Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, Cave Creek, Anthem, New River, Carefree, part of Phoenix.
So I read online that you're like a member of a far-right coalition. Would you identify with that or no?
I don't really know what far-right means to people. I mean, I'm a member of the Freedom Caucus, and we stand for individual liberty, limited government, adherence to the Constitution. So if that's far-right to you, then label me how you want.
Earlier this year, Colladin got wind of a piece of legislation aimed at his community.
It was done as what's called a striker.
Striker, meaning all the language of one bill was struck out and new language added.
So the bill language came out very, very shortly before the hearing, which is what a lot of folks do down at the Capitol when they don't really want people to have a chance to read and analyze things. And then very quickly got shoved to a hearing.
And what did the bill say?
It essentially gave a very specific and narrow carve-out and said, hey, if your city's between this size and that size, which would encompass Scottsdale and maybe a couple of other cities, and there's a company with an international headquarters there, then by right they can build multifamily up to this density if they do this, that, and the other thing. And it was basically so specific that they were saying Axon without saying Axon. I mean, you say the Axon bill, everybody knew what you were talking about.
Colladin says that is the problem. There's an argument that elected officials should be making building easier. But Colladin says if it's good policy, then it should apply to everyone, everywhere in the state, not one company. I reached out to the legislators that introduced the bill. They don't live in Scottsdale. They never got back to me.
The debate got very heated. One side claimed a corporate titan was pouring money into the statehouse to drown local voices. The other thought a small group of agitators had hijacked the referendum process to thwart new development. Janine Connolly was the only Scottsdale representative to support the bill. She declined an interview, but this is her speaking on the House floor in April.
I have a vision of that corridor becoming tech jobs for the East Valley, and I can't lose that vision. So the project, in my opinion, did not circumvent public processes. It went through 2 to 4 years of planning and zoning. That cannot happen in the dark.
Colladin was irate. This is him at the statehouse arguing that his constituents wanted the referendum, wanted to vote themselves.
They organized, they knocked on doors. That's what we do in a democracy, and that's what the citizens of Scottsdale did. So make no mistake about what we are being asked to do here today. We are being asked to cancel an election called by the people of Scottsdale. And canceling an election, once it's been called, is the stuff of banana republics, and it is beneath the state of Arizona. I vote no.
Representative Joseph Chaplick, also of Scottsdale, stood on the floor and claimed that 3 or 4 of his colleagues told him that they were essentially offered campaign funds if they vote yes. I've never seen something so scandalous in my 5 years down here, he said. The bill passed. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs signed it in April.
What did you think when the bill passed? What was your first thought?
My first thought was that it was so unfortunate that folks could just buy legislation if they had enough money. For most folks who didn't represent a suburban district, it was really in their self-interest to go along with what Axon wanted.
Because of the promised campaign contributions.
I don't want to say it was that explicit, but it was made pretty clear.
Okay, so what did Axon say about these accusations?
Well, nothing. We sent them a detailed list of questions and got no comment. You know, it's too early to tell if Axon or its leaders are going to be making those political donations. The next general election is a year away. The company declined to say how much it spent lobbying on that bill, and those records are not yet public. The CEO, Rick Smith, did say this on a recent investor call.
Our efforts around this new legislation are another example of what our unstoppable team can do. I cannot be more proud. Challenging, divisive political opposition and obstacles have stood in front of our project for nearly 5 years. But our team found a way.
What do you think it all says about Axon?
I mean, look, Axon is led by ambitious people, and they have made it their goal to transform public safety. And in the last few years, they have made a lot of money doing it. Rick Smith, the guy you just heard, he is reportedly one of the highest paid CEOs in the country, and they are posting very enviable margins, something like 25%. Company leaders say they are seizing the political moment once again.
Okay, so how are they doing that?
Well, think back just to how they seized on the police reform movement and they sold all those body cameras. Now the company is hoping to be a front runner in developing new AI applications for cops, and they see other markets on the horizon. Just in the last few years, Axon has increased federal contracts considerably. They're supplying tech such as body cameras to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And I downloaded the federal spending data and found that as a prime contractor, Axon was awarded $15 million in ICE contracts over the last few years and another $70 million in Customs and Border Protection contracts. And that's all Biden era, by the way.
Okay, so do they think that that's going to continue to grow now that President Trump has pushed for more funding for immigration enforcement and border security?
Yeah, I had the same question. So I did a little digging. On a first quarter call this year, Axon leaders were asked about this, and analysts said that given all the new money, where are you guys excited about helping? And Axon president Josh Isner said that they're going to focus on, quote, better video in more places, better counter-drone solutions, and of course, more drone solutions that are USA made. Smith, the CEO, said real-time translation tools are going to be big at the border because border agents are, quote, constantly dealing with people coming across the border, and they have no idea what language they're going to run into. And the other thing I'll note here, Lacey, is that Axon products may be increasingly used in combat situations. Axon bought this company called D-Drone last year, which sells counter-drone systems and drone trackers. According to Axon's reports to investors, quote, Ukraine is buying a ton of these. Smith said that he sees these types of drones as a way to minimize loss of human life during war, which I have to say is an ongoing debate. As we've seen drone warfare expand, there's been plenty of deadly consequences.
Is this why Axon needs to expand in Scottsdale?
You know, it's hard for me to say. Clearly, this is a company that wants to keep growing, and many of those folks that you heard earlier, they say that this building project is just a real estate deal, another way for Axon to cash in on the moment, given that housing is more expensive than ever. Bob Littlefield, that chief Axon agitator, says that Axon's move in the legislature is really revealing this aggressive company that will do whatever it takes to get what it wants.
We're just going to go down to the state legislature, completely craven. basically thumbing their nose at the citizens of Scottsdale, saying, hey guys, we don't care that you don't want this. Tough.
By the looks of it, Littlefield isn't taking this one lying down. He filed a lawsuit against the city and state in late September, claiming that the Axon law violates the state constitution. No word yet on the government's response.
The Scottsdale City Council is also exploring a lawsuit. Council members voted to hire the former Arizona Solicitor General to take a look at their options.
They want to make a lot of money, fine. But you know what? They don't need to build apartments to make a bunch of money.
Axon's revenue last year was $2 billion. Now, we could end this episode villainizing profit-making, or the technology that's raking it in. But Barry Friedman, the NYU professor and former Axon ethics board member, says that that's a cheap shot. Axon may be changing our world. At the border, the front lines, cities and towns across America. But what Friedman wonders is it working?
I think it was and is essential to have some way of knowing whether what you're doing in this space is valuable and safe. Valuable because we spend a fortune. I would have done much better to have invested in Axon than to have invested in working with the ethics board in terms of my own personal well-being. There's no doubt about that. We all should have, bought the stock big. And so if we're going to spend the fortune that we spend on public safety, you'd like to think that it was being well spent.
He says that too often, we just don't know. Things That Go Boom is distributed by Inkstick Media and PRX. If you want to keep up with us after the show, we're at Inkstick Media on your favorite social media. And if that happens to be Instagram or TikTok, we are also at Go Boom Pod. This episode was reported and produced by Annie Gilbertson, edited by Katie Toth and me, with sound design by Robin Wise. Our music, as always, is composed by Darian Schulman, and Robin Wise makes our show sound its very best. Special thanks to Joan Miners, whose reporting in the Arizona Republic helped us understand growth and housing issues, and to Jared McDonald Evoy at Arizona Mirror for his thorough coverage of the Axon headquarters controversy. Thank you also and always to the Carnegie Corporation of New York for making this show possible, and to Inkstick supporters, including the Plowshares Fund, Cologne Foundation, and Riva and David Logan Foundation for supporting the independent reporting that powers Things That Go Boom. We'll see you right back here in 2 weeks.
And you also, know how to fight.
Well, as long as you give me a machine gun, I'm okay. Hand-to-hand, probably I wouldn't be so good.
Not anymore.
Well, I don't know. I might remember a few things, but anyway.